Hello everyone. Good evening. Can we all hear me? Please, can you kindly
Yes,
comment? Oh, all right. Thank you. Um, all
We can
right.
hear
Welcome
you.
to class. Thank you very much. Welcome to class, everyone. This is our second class for our specialized sessions, right? And our topic for today is the African Continental Free Trade Area, right? We have quite a lot scheduled for today. Please kindly do well to reach out to more mentees to join in for the call so that we can have a full class. So, not to waste any time, my name is Dennis Williams, and I'll be your moderator for today. I would like to quickly introduce our mentors for today's session. Sorry. Please, one moment. All right, to introduce our mentors for today, our first mentor that we're expecting in class today is in the person of Mr. Oluwatosin Olaniran. Right, Mr. Oluwatosin is a dedicated advocate for leadership, governance, and public policies in Africa, driven by a passion for excellence, innovation, creativity, and sustainable development across Nigeria and Africa in pursuit of his commitment to advancement of law and societal development. Oluwatosin currently serves as the Advisory Council member of the AfCFTA Youth Advisory Council, contributing to efforts aimed at promoting youth inclusion in the realization of of a unified African market through AfCFTA. During his undergraduate days, he held key leadership positions and pioneered impactful initiatives, earning him multiple awards and recognitions for his contributions. Sorry, please, 1 minute. Okay, on his recognition for his contribution, in his leisure time, Oluwatosin enjoyed browsing the internet, watching documentaries, and reading successful stories from global achievers. Thank you, Mr. Oluwatosin, for volunteering to be a mentor in today's class. We are happy to have you for the second time in our AfCFTA class. Our next mentor for today, our second mentor for today is Mr. Warmates Jones. Mr. Warmates Jones is founder of the AfCFTA Roundtable, a continental think tank of trade policies and investment experts, interpreting the content of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreements to SMEs and providing continent-wide advisory on trade policies implementation. He served as pioneer chairman of the Bielsa Business Roundtable, an affiliation of the African Business Roundtable, offering access to international organizations and peer-reviewing institutions on policy frameworks. Warmates is a member of faculty of the African Industrialization Group, a continental group committed to the industrialization of African economies. He served as the legal advisor of All African Association of Small and Medium Enterprise and also a member of the Multinational Organization Committee of the African Trade and Investment Global Summit 2021, ATIGS 2021, an African-centric investment summit holding in Dubai on the sidelines of the Dubai Expo. Warmates Jones has three decades post-call experience as a lawyer, providing legal advisory, planning and strategy, business risk analysis, policy framework developments, and investments and asset acquisition negotiations in the oil, gas, petrochemical, marine, aviation, and real estate sectors. locally and internationally. He served as the managing counsel of Femi Osinowo and Company, a firm of legal practitioners in Lagos with specializations in marine, maritime, and aviation services. He also served as Group Company Secretary of Royal Marine and Spares Limited, a marine service company which managed Nigeria's largest strategic offshore petroleum product storage on behalf of the PPMC/NNPC at the time. He has severally been involved in negotiations for the acquisition of offshore vessels, product tankers, and rendering associated legal services as well. Thank you, Mr. Warmates, for joining. We are happy to have you in our session. I'm trying to confirm if we have our mentors already in class. Okay. All right, so I can see that we have Mr. Oluwatosin already on the call. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We are so happy to have you with us. You're welcome, sir. So, like we earlier said, our topic for today is the African Continental Free Trade Area. And I trust that you have a discourse that you have already prepared for us for today's class. We look forward to hearing from you. Share your thoughts and insights on today's topic, sir. While we call on Mr. Oluwatosin for his presentation and his discourse, we would like to ask the mentees, that is for those groups that are supposed to present in class today, please kindly get ready as well, right? So that when you are called up, you come up to make your presentations and do that as quick as possible. So Mr. Oluwatosin, over to you. The floor is yours. We would like to receive your discourse on today's topic at the African Continental Free Trade Area. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Oluwatosin, are you with us?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. And it's indeed a warm pleasure to be here joining this discussion for the second time. And I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the leadership of JIPC for this great invitation. And also, I must extend my warm greetings and regards to the invited guests that I'm so privileged to share the same stage with. I was privileged to speak alongside them last year and at this year's edition. Thank you so much, and a good evening to every participant and mentees of this mentorship network. All right, I would like for my slides to be presented, please. All right, thank you so much. My sincere apologies. I would like to be off camera as I'm currently somewhere that might not really permit me to have a virtual video interaction with each and every one of you. So this evening we'll be talking about the opportunities for undergraduate and graduate under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and we'll be looking at unlocking Africa's potential. So this evening, majorly what I will be addressing is coming from the standpoint of the youth, because as a member of the Advisory Council on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, I would state that we have already galvanized efforts within the youth community, within the youth range, to ensure that we have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement implemented across different regions and parts of Africa. So in our discussion this evening, we'll be looking at the benefits or the opportunities available to you and I as youth under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So okay, this is a network, this is a decision, this is a focus of African countries. So what are the opportunities that are available to youth to help propel the benefits and ensure that we also derive maximum value from it. So the next slide. All right, so we'll be moving down to the introduction to AfCFTA, and the AfCFTA stands for the African Continental Free Trade Area or Agreement, and it aims to create a single market for goods and services across the 54 African Union member states, boosting intra-African trade. So basically, this trade agreement or trade area, so to say, was launched in year 2021, and it represents the largest free trade area in the world in terms of member countries. Like I said earlier, we have 54 African Union member states that have consented to this agreement. So that is why we are having it as the largest free trade area in the world in terms of member countries. So why is AfCFTA important to youth? And I must also state this, that the youth has an advantage globally, because when it comes to the workforce of a country, when it comes to the workforce of a continent, the youth are very, very important. So that is why we must be concerned about the AfCFTA as youth. And when I'm referring to youth in the course of my presentation, I'm referring to graduate and undergraduate of various disciplines across Africa. So why is AfCFTA important to youth? Africa has an aggregate potential of 1.3 billion growing economy, and AfCFTA offers immense benefits to the teeming population, that is to the teeming number of youth. If you move down to different parts of Africa, you will see that the youth constitute not less than 70% of the workforce of that country. So that is why we must be committed, we must be resilient, we must be determined to ensure that the benefit, the potentials available under AfCFTA is realized as soon as possible. Next slide. So what are the opportunities available to undergraduates under the AfCFTA? The first one I would like to mention is entrepreneurship and startups. Like I said, the African Continental Free Trade Area or Agreement opens a large market, a large expanse of market for people to trade, for people to interact, for people to carry on business. So that is why there is an available or placement for entrepreneurship and startups. So for undergraduates, they will have access to a larger market for aspiring entrepreneurs. Basically, we have different growing entrepreneurs across our different campuses and institutions. I would like to pay attention to or use Nigeria as a case study. That's a very, very relative example for us. So we have different entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs in our country, Nigeria. So we must encourage them. They must see the positivity, the possibilities also in the AfCFTA, because it will give them an advantage to a larger market. Also, the AfCFTA supports cross-border startups in sectors like tech, agriculture, and e-commerce. And if you agree with me that when it comes to tech development and tech evolution and e-commerce, Nigeria is doing well. What is required now is the most needed awareness. And I must appreciate JIPC for this great opportunity. Now there is a new level of awareness for those who are not even aware that there is this AfCFTA. They are now aware by virtue of this innovation. So these are things that we must appreciate. And we must let people be aware and take note that there are so many advantages that comes with the AfCFTA. And that is what the cross-border startups. And we have so many startups in tech, in e-commerce. So another opportunity under the AfCFTA for undergraduate is internship and apprenticeship. Basically, let me just put it, internship, mentorship, and apprenticeship. Now, what you guys are having now is a mentorship on the African Continental Free Trade Area. That is one of the brilliant opportunities. Now, this opportunity has created a level of exposure for participants. Now, there are so many AfCFTA related programs and partnership with firms engaged in cross-border trade. As I'm speaking now, I am a member of the Advisory Council on African Continental Free Trade Area. We have our council meetings, we have our deliberations, we have our headquarters in Tanzania. So this initiative is a platform for youth across different parts of Africa to come together to deliberate. There are times that we roll out internship opportunities. We also partner with different institutions and organizations across Africa. Okay, we want you to at least give us a slot, let's say 100, 20 across different countries, so they can intern with your organization, so they can learn more about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and even trading, cross-border trading. So these are things that we are encouraging. These are things that are available under the AfCFTA for youth. Another point is that internship in industries such as logistics, trade facilitation, and policy implementation. There are so many internship opportunities across different policy sectors. And it is a great idea. In fact, it is an encouragement for each and every one of you here this evening to ensure that if you have interest in advancing the cause of AfCFTA, we are yet to fully see to the implementation of this agreement or this trade area. So with your collective effort, with your collective support, we will achieve it. So the next point is educational and skills development programs. There are so many scholarships and educational programs designed for youth interested in trade, economic integration, and policy. And I would recommend a particular platform for you guys this evening. That's Opportunities for Africa. It's a website. And I know many of you will be aware about that. Opportunities for Africa. So this platform presents different opportunities for African youth. So you might be privileged to find something related to what? Trade. To something on AfCFTA. So this brings about what opportunities opened to youth. Also, there are access to African Union initiatives focused on empowering young leaders in trade-related fields. If you go online, just search for African Union, search for the African Continental Free Trade Area. You will see that there are so many opportunities. I got to know about the Advisory Council on AfCFTA on LinkedIn. I made my research. I made my application to the council. I was interviewed. I was screened, and I was appointed as a member. And during the course of having election, I contested too. So these are things that you must be on the lookout. You must keep searching. That is it. If you are passionate about something, and that's one thing that I would tell you guys this evening. If you are passionate about something, start building the right energy. Be consistent. To the next slide. All right, so we are now on opportunities for graduates. So the first opportunity for graduates is employment in trade-related sectors. There is an increased demand for legal experts, economists, and trade specialists in areas like custom, trade, compliance, and logistics. And one sad thing that so many people fail to understand is that they believe the AfCFTA is just for legal professionals alone. And I would count that to be a lie. And I know Mr. Warmith Jones will even attest to that. That is a big fat lie, that the whole concept of AfCFTA is revolves around legal professionals. No. In this slide, you can see that it is an opportunity open to trade specialists in areas like custom, trade compliance, and logistics. So it is not demanding for legal expert alone. It is demanding for economists and trade specialists. Economists and trade specialists. So your knowledge, your experience, the knowledge I've gathered so far with respect to this concept, to this area, can give you an employment, can land you an employment opportunity. So there are roles in AfCFTA's administrative bodies, policy think tanks, and trade-related NGOs. I was privileged to go through the bio or the citation of Mr. Walmart Jones, and I would attest you would even agree with me. Looking at that citation or listening to that citation, you will see that he has a policy think tank. There are so many trade NGOs. These are areas that you can gain employment. I'm not just gaining employment and adding value to the ongoing discourse on the Africa Continental Free Trade area. The next point is cross-border professional services. Cross-border professional services. So there are so many opportunities in sectors like law, accounting, and consultancy as the movement of professional services across borders becomes easier. So there's an ongoing demand for professionals in cross-border services. In cross-border services, if I'm to trade, living Nigeria today, and I'm going to trade in Tanzania, I'm very sure I would be needing an immigration lawyer to put me through. Then that is a means of what? Employment. I have to employ someone to put me through. Then that is a source of employment. That is a source of living for the immigration lawyer in Tanzania. Okay, I want to trade. I want to move my capital. I would be needing a finance expert. Can you see that cross-border demands, cross-border transactions or services requires professionals, and this is where there is a large expanse of opportunities open to graduates in that area to build upon. The next point is investment and trade facilitation. So graduates in finance, economics, or business can explore roles in investment promotion agencies, facilitating cross-border trade and investment. Also, we have digital and technology solutions. So tech graduates can take advantages of growing needs for digital platforms to support e-commerce, digital payments, and supply chain management under the AfCFTA. Going forward in the subsequent slide, you will see some relevant examples of digital and technology solutions under the AfCFTA created by youth. So next slide. Okay, so there's an example. Okay, the AfCFTA sectors for youth engagement. So we have 55 member states of the AU have signed the AfCFTA agreement. 44 have deposited their instrument of ratification, and the AfCFTA is the largest free trade area. Okay, I think I've emphasized on this. Next slide, please. All right. So these are examples of opportunities that are open to graduate and undergraduate alike under the AfCFTA. So we have the agriculture and agribusiness. So the AfCFTA opens door for agribusiness startups to trade agricultural products across African borders with a focus on food security and sustainability. So regardless of your discipline, regardless of your area, you can still contribute to the ongoing discourse on AfCFTA. Majorly, if you are into agriculture, then be looking forward to what? Agribusiness. So there are so many opportunities, there are so many doors that are opened for agribusiness startups to trade agricultural products across African borders. The second point is manufacturing and industrialization. So there are so many opportunities for innovation in manufacturing, particularly in consumer goods, textiles, and raw material processing, aimed at reducing import dependency. Few years ago, this campaign in Nigeria for us to embrace locally made goods, and we encourage to support the likes of Innocent Motors and other local industries that are producing items or products in Nigeria. And by this, we can also create, while these local companies are producing items and products, we can also partner with them and industrialize our community. We can engage in cross-border. Okay, what we are producing here in Nigeria, made in Nigerian goods, we can market them in Ghana. We can market them in Zambia. So this is what the AfCFTA is all about. And who are those that can really key into this? It is the youth workforce that can really key into it, because the youth workforce constitutes the largest workforce in the world globally. So while we are having locally made goods in Nigeria, in different parts of Africa, let us come together and market this product to other parts of Africa. Let's reduce the import dependency from the European countries, from other parts of the world. While this is a very laudable initiative, and a very laudable and commendable initiative, I'm very sure what remains, or what is left for us to do as a country, as a nation, as a continent, is implementation and monitoring. While we can implement this, we must be able to monitor it to have a long-term goal. The next slide. Transportation and logistics. So development of logistics services to support cross-border trade, providing roles for graduates in supply chain management and transportation infrastructure. Yes. So we can come up with a startup on transportation or logistics. Why not create a startup that can easily facilitate the supply chain management from Nigeria to Ghana, majorly on a particular product. Are we together? So we can build a startup idea and implement it, work on it to build an effective supply chain management and transportation infrastructure within African countries to create a standard African market. Next slide. All right. So these are the case studies of youth success under the AfCFTA. So example of a young lawyer or trade consultant who has found opportunities in advising companies on compliance with African Continental Free Trade Regulation is Mr. Legbosi Nwaibu. He's a trade law expert on the African Continental Free Trade area. An example of a tech company that has expanded its operations across multiple African countries under the AfCFTA is Vigo. You can make your research on these case studies after this session. So an example of a youth-led agribusiness that leverage on AfCFTA to access new markets across Africa is the Tanzania's Agri-Hub network. This is one of the largest agribusiness networks in Africa. So it's a youth-led agribusiness initiative. Next slide. All right, thank you. So we are now on the challenges facing youth under the AfCFTA. Over the past few minutes, I've discussed on the opportunities benefit open to youth under the African Continental Free Trade Area or Agreement. However, there poses some challenges to the effective actualization of this benefit or opportunities. And the first one is lack of awareness and knowledge. A lot of youth, graduates and undergraduates alike, are unaware of the AfCFTA's opportunities or how to take advantage of them. And that's why I said earlier that we must give kudos to the leadership of this mentorship network for this brilliant initiative. We have created a level of awareness today. We have created a level of knowledge, awakening. I can say it's more of an ignition. We have ignited your spirit towards looking forward to what? To making further research about AfCFTA, be consistent with it, and join participating communities to build your discussion, to build your knowledge better. Another point, or another challenge is access to capital. You know, it's so like in my tribe, they would say money has given as where there is no money, your idea is in futility. According to my people here, where there's no money, your idea is in futility. So if you are saying you have an idea and your idea is not backed up with money, or you don't have any money to finance your idea, then just forget about it. So access to capital. So there is limited access to capital or limited access to funding and capital to start business or invest in cross-border ventures. So it's so good, it's so brilliant to have ideas, to have different startup ideas or initiatives up there. But if you have no access to funding, then you'll be limited because there's little you can do. So this is a clarion call on the government, on the African Union, and different stakeholders to provide funding for well-meaning initiatives. For well-meaning initiatives with projection, with sound projection. They should be funded. They should be provided with capital. And I think one thing I would always also want to say is that beyond, because speaking generally in Africa, beyond we having empowerment by our politicians, having them empowered by giving them a grinding machine, giving them a bicycle, giving them motorcycle, giving them this hair dryer, we can also release our funds. We can also give out funds to startups, give us capital, support ideas. We are now moving into an era, into a stage globally that is beyond what is obtainable 20 years down the line. The world is advancing. We are moving to one of the biggest showdown in tech. So why not support? Why not we fund these tech ideas? We have the artificial intelligence. Yeah. So artificial intelligence also is permissible under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So if you have an idea that revolves around using AI for agribusiness, using AI for this and that, and there is no funding, trust me, it will be in futility. So another point is the regulatory and bureaucratic barriers. You agree with me? We are too, I don't know, in Africa generally, we are just rigid with some things. So they will tell you this is the protocol, this protocol, that protocol, this. You want to just do something very simple. You want to you are already done with your proposal and you're submitting to a particular stakeholder or to a member of the government, and they will tell you have to follow this protocol, that protocol, and at the end of the month, everything goes down to zero. So we are being faced with different regulatory and bureaucratic barriers. You will get to you will get to Ghana, you will get to Togo and the likes of the country, and their regulatory provisions is not consistent with the AfCFTA agreement. Like different countries are having different regulatory ideas, different regulatory policies. And we are looking forward to creating a unified African market. It's never going to be possible. There will be challenges. We're looking forward to creating a global, a single African market, a unified African market. And different countries, the 54 or 55 countries in Africa are having different regulatory policy. So there's nothing stopping us, as African countries, to have a unified regulatory policies, to ensure seamless business transaction under the African Continental Free Trade Area to have a seamless transaction or flow under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Next point, next slide, rather. So these are my recommendations for undergraduates. So these are my recommendations. The first one is that you have to leverage on educational platforms. You have to leverage on educational platforms. So take online courses or participate in webinars related to trade, African economies, and the AfCFTA. So please, you must, if you have never appreciated this mentorship network, please do well to appreciate them after this meeting. You must appreciate them because this has given you an insight into what the whole gamut of the African Continental Free Trade Area is all about. So you must join discussions, participate in webinars. Don't just get discouraged like, okay, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, I'm going to spend 40 minutes on nothing online. So beyond you just going spending a lot of time on TikTok, on Facebook and the likes, gain more knowledge, gain more expertise, gain more experience, learn more, challenge yourself to learn more. You can have a monthly target. This month, this is my target about Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Set a realistic target. Build yourself. And in years to come, you'll become a resource person that the world will celebrate and appreciate. That your input will become valuable. The next point is join the African Continental Free Trade Area Focus Student Association. I understand we're not really at that in Nigeria today, but as one of the advisory council members from Nigeria, we are working on setting up a student organization that focuses on the African Continental Free Trade Area. We are more or less coming up with this idea or concept of the African Continental Free Trade Area Student Club, and I believe with your collective support is going to be achieved in a couple of months to come. Please join us on this. Your ideas, your support and contributions will be needed to actualize this. So you can also offer, you can join student association that focuses on AfCFTA and trade, offering networking and learning opportunities. So when you are learning, you also network. So it's beyond you participating, beyond you joining a meeting or a discussion. Please do well to network, do well to meet with others, do well to share ideas. Another recommendation is start small business with cross-border potential. Start small business with cross-border potential, and I believe I'm speaking to a larger part of the Gen Z, if I'm right. So beyond you just setting up a small business on your WhatsApp, you are a small CEO, you're a small CEO on WhatsApp, and you are into business, small business. Let our business have a cross-border potential. Have that as your end goal. That this business that I've started while in school, while on campus, it has this potential in years to come. Have that mindset, build that right mindset, build that right energy. So you explore small business ideas that could serve multiple African markets, such as digital products or services. There are so many digital products or services that are yet or that are not available in other parts of Africa. I'm very sure about that. While we are having some countries that are developing in Africa, there are so many countries that are still behind. So you can make research, you can target those countries rather. So you can explore and tap into the available opportunities there. The next slide. Now, down to recommendations for graduates. I'm running out of time and I want to be fast with my presentation. So, recommendations for graduates. The first one is focus on skills development in trade-related fields. Focus on skills development in trade-related fields. Pursue certifications in international trade law, cross-border logistics, or trade finance to stay competitive. So I would recommend the likes of Udemy, the likes of Coursera, and so many other learning platforms that you can register with. You can earn your certificate. You can, share the good news on the social media. Then people get to notice you. For me, I was so surprised when I received an invitation from the Jiipcc that I have been invited to speak last year. I was so surprised. So these are things that you have to engage in. There are things that you do in your private space. For people who are watching, when you put little things out there, I encourage you, please. This is a challenge. I'm not challenging those that are graduate already. It's a challenge for you. Build and pursue certifications in international trade law, cross-border logistics, or trade finance to stay competitive. We are all complaining about the economy, but so many youth are still making it. So many youth are still getting something out of the whole economy. That is quite unfortunate because they are staying competitive. They have stayed competitive on the area that they are currently. So regardless of the economy of Nigeria, they are still doing well. So engage in policy discussions. Actively participate in AfCFTA related forums and policy dialogues to stay updated and influence future trade frameworks. The second point is, or the third point rather, is collaborate across borders. So network with professionals from other African countries to build cross-border partnership, particularly in professional services like consulting on law. And I would say one thing. Beyond having networks within Nigeria, please, I encourage you, have networks outside Nigeria. And what am I saying? Have friends, have colleagues outside of Nigeria. If you are really passionate about advancing the cause of a unified African market, then just Nigeria. So it's not just a market for Nigerians alone. It's a market for the whole Africans. So you must have people. For me, I have friends, I have colleagues across different parts of Africa. So if I'm privileged to be in a particular African country today, I have people that I can easily reach out to that will join me in whatever I'm to do there. So these are things that we are encouraging. These are things that we want to see in Africa, in African youth, particularly Nigerian youth. So we have to collaborate. We have to foster this level of unity, of partnership, of collaboration. So it's not a matter of competition. We are not in competition. We are in the era of collaboration. So it's not about a matter of I'm competing with this person, I'm competing with this brand, I'm competing with this startup. No, we should look forward to the era of collaborating. The next point is seek funding and support programs. So if you have a startup idea, if you have an idea that revolves around the African Continental Free Trade Area, pardon, you can seek grants, government-backed financing programs, and youth enterprise schemes that facilitate cross-border trade. At the advisory council level, we are working on partnering with different governments and stakeholders across Africa to see if there is we can create a funding measure for you that have ideas. So we can just select about 2 or 3 of them per year or quarterly, whatsoever we are able to realize within that window period. So it's more of like we are creating an advocacy. We are channeling our energy towards awakening the level of the responsibility level of different stakeholders and governments. So it's an ongoing effort, and we seek your support also to achieve this. So if you have any ideas, you can draft your proposals, send it out. You might get rejected, you might get disappointed, but I'm sure out of 100 proposals sent across to different persons, or let me just say out of a proposal sent across to 100 persons, I'm very sure you will have 1% and 1% success and 99% failure. And that 1% success, if you're able to push through and stay committed, you will become the next big thing in Africa, the next big shot in Africa. The next slide. So, moving to my conclusion, I would reiterate once again that the African Continental Free Trade Area has a youth empowerment tool, and you agree with me that it has a youth empowerment tool. At least I need your response in the comment section. Will you agree with me that the African Continental Free Trade Area has a youth empowerment tool? Will you agree with me? Great, beautiful. So the African Continental Free Trade Area represents a transformative opportunity for African youth. It represents a transformative opportunity for African youth with the potential to drive economic growth and innovation. With the potential to drive economic growth and innovation. So please, I encourage you with strategic engagement, undergraduates and graduates or youth generally can become a pivotal player in reshaping Africa's trade landscape. You and I can contribute towards building the Africa trade landscape. It's something realistic. It's something achievable with our collective. Just have this at the back of your mind that the AfCFTA has a youth empowerment tool. That with this, you can get what you want and build what you really want to do. So regardless of your discipline, you have a say. You have a say, you have a say, and you have a stake. Let me put it that way in the African Continental Free Trade Area. Next slide. All right. So we are almost at the end of this presentation. So this is a call to action. And I want to see the effective implementation as from tonight. I will keep following up. I will share my contact with you guys. I want to see the implementation as from tonight. This is a challenge for every mentee of this mentorship network. The mentorship network must see that you have taken advantage of the opportunity that have been given to you. So for undergraduates, start learning. Start learning now. Start learning about AfCFTA. Start building the right networks. Guess what? I used the word, the right networks. Start building the right networks and engaging with trade-focused organizations. For graduates, here is my call to action, my CTA for you guys. Equip yourself with the skills, knowledge, and resources needed to thrive in a Pan-African market. I repeat, equip yourself with the skills, the knowledge, and resources needed to thrive in a Pan-African market. And lastly, young people play an important role in Africa's political economy. And the success of many continental efforts, such as the African Continental Free Trade Area, will be determined in large part by how well, listen to this word, will be determined in large part by how well the youth are included in various stages of implementation. The youth are included in the various stages of implementation. So we must get involved. They must see, the actors under the AfCFTA must see that the youth are ready to take it up. They must see that the youth are ready to move it higher. They must see that youth are ready to make a substantial, to make contributions and substantial contributions towards the development of the African trade market. Is that the last slide? All right. Thank you for the honor to light up Africa. It's indeed a great privilege for me to share my little knowledge about Africa Continental Free Trade Area as an advisory council member of the African Youth Advisory Council on AfCFTA. Together we can build the Africa of our dreams. So you can go on LinkedIn, search for Oluwatosin or Laninos. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will also drop my WhatsApp contact so you can follow up on the discussion. Thank you so much for this great invitation and for your listening ears.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwatosin, for a very wonderful, detailed, and targeted presentation from you. We learned quite a lot. I did learn quite a lot. So to our mentees, as we can see, the African Continental Free Trade Area is a new initiative. Well, seemingly new. Mr. Oluwatosin said it's commenced in 2021. So it's relatively new. And it's, I think it's a good idea if we jump on the initiative to become a part of what this opening sector or opening initiative is trying to bring to young Africans, right? So, it's trying to bring a unified market where Africans can do business within itself, right? Without necessarily having to depend so much on, exports and imports from, the Western world and from Asia and the rest of the world. So please, like Mr. Oluwatosin had earlier pointed out, right, if you are a business person, you are trying to start a business, or have it in mind, you can get to engage, you can start thinking beyond the shores and the borders of Nigeria into other African countries, right? There's an agreement that is currently on ground that should help facilitate easy flow and easy movement of business, of goods and services within and across Africa. So in any way you can find yourself engaged in the movement of this initiative, please try and jump on board. Like Mr. Oluwatosin has said, you can contact him. If you need further guidance, I'm sure he will do well, right, to provide you with such. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Oluwatosin, for such a wonderful discourse from your end. We really, really do appreciate. I am not sure if Mr. Womit Jones is here with us. Please, I would like to confirm, Mr. Womit, are you here with us? Okay. I don't think Mr. Jones is with us, is currently with us. He was supposed to join in, right? He had a little meeting he was engaged in, but I'm sure he will be doing that shortly. He'll be doing that shortly. But while we wait for that, we would like to take presentations from the mentees, right? But before we have presentations, please can we kindly have pictures, right, so that we can move on with presentations. So while we are taking presentations, group presenters, try to get ready so that we can take presentations from you. So please, can we have our videos turned on for our pictures? Thank you, mentees. Thank you, Ifunaya. All right, thank you. Thank you, Praise. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Akinwale. Thank you, Chris David. All right, I can see we have quite a number of people. I would like to have a number of us respond. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, please just give me one moment. Can we still have our videos on? Right, give me one moment. We're still taking pictures. Thank you. All right, we are done with that. Thank you very much once again. So I would like to call on the mentees, right, for group. In today's class, we'll be having two presentations from the IP group, right, and for group 3 and group 4, right. So please, group presenters for those group 3, please, if you're ready, we're ready for you. So take your presentations. Let's do that as quick as possible. Group presenter for group 3, please, you can come up and make your presentation.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Please, let me just share my screen.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So, our presentation is on African Continental Free Trade Area, which is the topic for this week. And to understand what African Continental Free Trade Area is, we have to know that it was founded in 2018 and it commenced on the 1st of January 2021. And it was created by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, And we know that there are a total of 55 member states of the African Union, and out of the 55 member states, 54 among them are member states to the African Continental Free Trade Area. And one of the major aims of the African Continental Free Trade Area is trade boosting in Africa and positioning Africa in the global market and strengthening Africa's economy and fostering trade and economic growth in Africa. So these are some of the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and they include to create a single market for goods and services in order to deepen the economic integration of the African continent, and also to promote and attain a sustainable and inclusive socioeconomic development, gender equality, and structural transformation. We also have to enhance competitiveness of the economies of state parties within the continent and global market. And there are quite a number of objectives, but these are just a few of them. And we also have to lay the foundation for the establishment of a continental custom union at a later stage, and to create a liberalized market for goods and services through successive rounds of negotiations. And then we have the institutional framework of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and it consists of, first of all, the Assembly. It is the highest decision-making body of the African Union, and the Assembly has exclusive power to adopt the interpretations of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers. And then we have the Council of Ministers themselves. They comprise of the Minister of Trade or such other ministers or authorities or officials assigned by the state parties. So people that hold such positions in the state parties, they're the members of the Council of Ministers, and they're responsible for taking decisions on all matters under the AfCFTA agreement, and they also report to the Assembly through the Executive Council of the African Union. And then we have finally the Committee of Senior Trade Officials, and they're responsible for the development of programs and action plans for the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And then we have the constitution of the National Action Committee, that's the NAC of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And this National Action Committee was constituted and inaugurated on November 19th, 2029. And some of the responsibilities or the objectives of this committee is to profile viable strategies for the implementation of the AfCFTA agreement. And some of the members of this committee include the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Corporate Affairs Commission, the Ministry of Finance, Budgets and National Planning, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and the National Investment Promotion Commission. So the committee's mandate
Hello, Joy. Hello, Joy. Are you with us?
And then the work streams are categorized into, I think, 4 sectors, which includes, first of all, in goods, which has to do with manufacturing, agriculture, oil and gas, mining, and other extractives. And we also have trade in services. These have to do with communications and digital services, financial services and investment, mobilizations, travel, tourism, the creative industry, transport and business service. And then we have the trade enablement, which has to do with non-tariff barriers elimination and power services, border rules, policies, regulation and laws. And then we have export market development work stream. And this cuts across both trading goods and trading services. So it's like an intersection. And then we have the operational instruments of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And these operational instruments consist of, first of all, the rules of origin. It is like a governing regime. It governs the condition under which a product or service can be traded duty-free across the region. And then we have the tariff concessions. The tariff concessions has been it has been agreed that there should be like 90% tariff liberalization, and then over a 10-year period with a 5-year transition, there will be an additional 7% for certain sensitive products that must be liberalized. And this tariff concessions also has it that it will be supported by the African Continental Free Trade Area Trade in Goods online portal, where member states will upload their tariff offers covering 90% of the tariff line. And then we have the Continental Online Tool and mechanisms for monitoring, reporting, and eliminating of non-tariff barriers, popularly known as NTBs. And this Continental Tool would ensure that the MBTs are monitored with a view to ensuring that they are eliminated. And then we have the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is known as PAPS. And this system is a centralized payment and settlement infrastructure for intra-African trade and commerce payments. And this is being developed in collaboration with the African Export-Import Bank. This bank will facilitate payments as well as formalize some of the unrecorded trade due to prevalence of informal cross-border trade in Africa. And finally have the African Trade Observatory. And this trade observatory is like a trade information portal to address some hindrances to trade in Africa due to lack of information about opportunities, trade statistics, and as well as information about exporters and importers in countries. And then we have, like I said earlier, one of the members of the committee, that is the National Action Committee of the AfCFTA, is the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the Central Bank of Nigeria has been involved in it right from the beginning. It is currently an active member of the 4 work streams of the NAC, that is the National Action Committee. And the CBN also participates in all workshops and seminars organized by the committee. So these 4 work streams that the CBN is actively involved in are, firstly, the Export Market Development Work Stream. It is a platform for policymakers and exporters to deliberate on issues concerning the export markets and to also come up with solutions to the problems faced by the exporters. And then we have the non-tariff barrier eliminating work stream. They deal with everything concerning NTBs, that is the non-tariff barriers, and they deal with everything concerning the NTBs that restrict or increase the cost of importation or exportation of goods and services. And then there is the manufacturing work stream, and it is just to ensure that Nigeria's domestic manufacturers have the requirements to participate in the AfCFTA's agreement. And then we have the AfCFTA Financial Services and Investment Mobilization Workstream. It was created as a forum for financial sector players to discuss issues relating to the implementation of the agreement. So we have the benefits of the AfCFTA to the Nigerian economy. I mentioned some of them earlier, but I'll still go through a few of them again. So one of the benefits in the Nigerian economy is that it creates an opportunity for Nigeria's professionals to, seek employment in other African countries, and it also increases the export of commodities, particularly agricultural and non-oil commodities that are manufactured, and manufactured products and services. It also increases the gross domestic product, and it contributes significantly to external reserves in the country. And it is also likely to increase the inflow of foreign direct investment to the country, attract foreign investors, and also as well as domestic investors, and thereby boosting the performance of the country's capital market. So these are some of the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Areas in the Nigerian economy. Then next we have the limitations or the challenges of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And some of these challenges include the fact that eliminating the tariffs can lead to reduction in government revenue, and it can in the future require the countries to have to find alternative sources of income, and small and medium enterprises may also struggle to compete with larger businesses, particularly in the face of increased competition and their access to cheaper imports. And also there might be uneven distribution of benefits. That is across all member countries, which may lead to the concerns about fairness and equity. And then another challenge is that even though the AfCFTA aims to eliminate tariffs, there are other trade barriers such as custom delays and regulatory differences that can still stand as challenges to the AfCFTA. And then there might also be members of the member of the countries in the AfCFTA agreement may need to invest in capacity building to ensure that they can effectively implement the AfCFTA and benefit from this. So these are the limitations of the AfCFTA, and I think that's the end of the slide. So we in our slides we discussed, we understood what the AfCFTA is and how it commenced, the objectives, the benefits, in Nigerian market, the involvement of the CBN, and finally the limitations. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Joy, for the presentation. Well done to you and for putting the presentation together. So we'll be taking presentation from group 4, right? The group presenter for group 4. If you're ready, we're ready to take the presentation also. Please, you can kindly share your slides and start your presentation. Group presenter for group 4. Do we have the group presenter for group 4 in class? Okay, do we have members of IP group 4 in session? I can help with the sharing of the slides while we make presentations. Okay, so not to waste any time, right? I think Mr. Womit will be unable to join us for today's session. But so far we've been having an interesting discussion so far. I don't know if Mr. Oluwatosin is still with us. Okay, I can see you're still with us on call, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for staying on call. Please, we'd like for you to give some comments to the presentation made by the mentees, and also maybe any other thing you would like to share with us just before we go or get into the question and answer segments.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Dennis. Well, with respect to the presentation, that is a fantastic presentation. That was very fantastic presentation, and kudos to the presenter and the group for their participation. Well, I believe the presentation gave the synopsis about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement or Free Trade Area, and it lays the foundation for the beginning of the whole idea about the AfCFTA, the journey so far, and the future of the AfCFTA. So that was a very brilliant presentation, and I must applaud them for that.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Oluwatosin, for your feedback. So we'll not be wasting any time in today's session. We don't intend for us to have a very lengthy session. So please, do we have questions in class? Do we have questions in class? I think I have one question. And, please, we can all, like, it's our practice. If you have a question, you can raise your hand and then we'll call you to ask your question. You can also send your questions into the chat box. But while we take questions, my question for Mr. Oluwatosin, my question is based off of the fact that this initiative is still relatively new and there's currently talks within Africa around removing visa limitations just to enable free movement within Africa. How do you think the African Continental Free Trade Area helps to advance that cause for it to also be possible for there to be free movement? I think last year Dangote complained in an interview. Dangote complained about how that it was easier for someone in France to get to other parts of Africa than it is for like somebody in Nigeria to move around in different African countries because of regulations and other particular limitations that hinders free movement within Africa as a whole. So how does the AfCFTA come into play as regards the matter of restrictions in terms of movements and other Africans getting to make headways in other African countries? Thank you, Mr. Oluwatosin. I hope you understood my question.
Yes, I get the question, sir. So to begin with, according to this biblical saying that a prophet has no honor in his own, and I think that is what I would term the whole scenario about, because we have no honor, we have no regards for ourselves within our place. Like, if we cannot honor and respect one another within our territory, within our milieu, so what do we intend to achieve? So we give so many accolades and respect to foreigners outside the shore of Africa without giving precedence to the African people itself. So I believe it's a problem by Africans and within Africa rather. So I believe that is the problem we're having. And one thing that I'm very, very, very sad about is that we spend so much money year in, year out, hosting different conferences, different seminars, different symposiums, having different forums to discuss on strengthening bilateral business relationship amongst African states. But it's more or less a total waste, if I would say, like a total waste for on our part as country, as government. You know, we have different state governments. When I'm saying state, I mean different African countries. So it's a waste of state resources, because how would you tell me I'm an investor in Africa, I'm an African by descent, and I want to invest in Tanzania, in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, and you are telling me I cannot move, I'm restricted based on visa, based on it's so absurd. So what I believe is that we have not gotten to that rugged implementation part. So it's just implementation by volumes of the books. So it's not an implementation backed up by action. And I believe what we are currently experiencing is as a result of that democratic garment that we have worn as state government in Africa. I don't want to sound so indifferent, or more or less I'm opposing the African state. No, I'm not opposing that. I believe so much in the future of Africa, and if I'm to say anything, I would say I'm proud to come from Africa. But I believe the problem we are having is that our leaders are not ready to see the good side of things. The good side of things. Why getting it back to history, I can say the military government of different African states then made frantic effort to ensure bilateral and business transactions among African states. That is why you could see different Africans in Nigeria, and Nigerians also in different African countries. But ever since the era of democracy in different parts of Africa, I think it has just restrained so many things. I would say so many things, and the economy is part of it. When we have economic fallout, we believe the only solution that can quench that fallout, or that can resuscitate the economic fallout, is from the Western world. However, we have failed to trace back to our roots. So I believe the only solution, based on the question asked, the only solution that we have now is to have a rugged and effective framework, system, and policy discussions. I would repeat, a rugged and effective policy discussion, framework, and system. So these three basic things must go pari passu to ensure that we have a working system for the AfCFTA. So they would not, they would, I was discussing earlier about some of the challenges to the effective implementation of AfCFTA and to have the benefit enjoyable by youth. And one of these bureaucratic processes. So you are telling me that before I can trade in Ghana, I have to pass through 14 or 15 stages. Meanwhile, someone from the United States of America, someone from France will be coming and will just pass through 6 stages. And boom, they have invested. So it is a problem by Africans and within Africa. We have our problems. We are the problems of Africa. And I would always say I would say one thing, and I will say it unapologetically. Our leaders, are a reflection of the people. That is the truth. Our leaders are a reflection of the people. So whatever the leaders are doing is a reflection of what the people has done or will do, even if they are in that shoe. So we must all sit down together, have a roundtable discussion as citizens, as people of African descent, and forge a new way and chart a new path towards the greatness of Africa. So beyond we having discussion, we must start raise. We must use our tool. I said AfCFTA is an empowerment tool for African youth. We must use our tool, create that level of awareness. And we must also appreciate the current leadership of the Minister of Interior with this integrating visas and everything in Nigeria. I think it's a very good one. So we must advance technologically. So we must know the inflow of other African members to our country. If they want to invest rather. While the presenter was making her presentation earlier, she said something about the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission. This is an agency that if an investor is coming and want to engage in cross-border transactions or cross-border activities within Africa or within Nigeria or other part of Africa country, they must ensure that they have a seamless bureaucratic process. So you not tell me one of the issues that we have. I'm sorry, I'm taking much time, but I think the question demands that. So one of the issues we have in Nigeria is that, or in Africa generally, is that it will take you might want to invest or do something within an African country or within an African polity, and they will tell you the person to sign your papers will resume in the next 2 weeks, and you will just wonder why in the next 2 weeks. Something that could easily be done on the go, on the mobile. You will tell me, okay, for me to do this thing, I have to wait for good 14 days to do this thing. So why not just make things seamless? And you even get there, corruption. Let me just put it an end to my answers. Corruption has become a cankerworm that has eaten deep into the fabrics of every African state. So it's not about Nigeria alone. It's happening everywhere, here and there. So you cannot progress. You cannot even move out from one region to the other, from one state to the other. If you want to, from Nigeria here, you want to go to the neighboring Ghana or Cotonou, trust me, if you pass through the road by road, those people, those security agencies security personnel that you will meet at different checkpoints, they're not looking at your papers alone. You'll have to settle them. They call it, you have to settle us. It's our work. Or where they go. So these are things that has been happening, that has been reoccurring, and it has really limited the successes of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Something that started that was reignited in year 2021, and this is still year 2025, and we are still leaping. I believe I think I've reasonably answered your question, sir.
Yes, sir, you have. Thank you very much. So I think I saw Mr. Ruadapola. Your hands were up. Please, you can go ahead and use an action question.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you so much. I am deeply grateful for your insight and your session. I have 5 questions actually. So I'll just start with the most pressing one. In terms of the barriers and the challenges, with Africa in general, I think one major factor, because what you said earlier about the whole Dangote's complaints and the barriers, is that Africa rather has this issue of independent, separate sovereignty. So in Niger, for instance, Hausa is the most spoken language there. Because Niger sees itself as a sovereign state, and Nigeria has a dominant part that's Hausa. Niger still does not recognize Nigeria as a broader state. Just see it as, oh, you're on your own, I'm on my own. But I digress anyway. That's just what that bit about Dangote's complaints is. My question is, in terms of the African Free Trade Zone, Africa AfCFTA, the agreements, so to speak. What do you have to say about the Belt and Road Initiative proposed by China, and also by what's it called? Yes, this recent Sahel breakout from ECOWAS in general, and vis-a-vis ECOWAS's railway initiative. They're trying to have a Central African railway initiative in all of this. And my also major concern, my major question also is in terms of transportation, because you said we should start businesses. You said we should, in our entrepreneurship scale towards the African continent at whole. Would you be kind enough to give possible initiatives towards, pointing us towards the right direction in terms of logistics? Say, for instance, if I want to transport my goods from Lagos, Nigeria, the commercial capital of the city, all the way to, say, Kigali in Rwanda, or possibly even Johannesburg, or, that kind of thing. I don't know where to start. I mean, how can we go about these things? Do we just pay for the air freight like everyone else? Or, deal with FedEx and all those things? Would you be kind enough to give, specifics towards those things? Because even if you check the internet, there isn't much being said about intra-Africa logistics in terms of the reality. They simply proposed an idea, what we can do, what we want to do, things said by the African Union, things said by ECOWAS, things said by, all the other, African unions, their babies in a manner of speaking, because every part of Africa, East Africa has their own thing going on. And of recently, with the military guys are in power, our neighboring states that broke out from ECOWAS, they have their own thing going. So realistically speaking, please, in terms of, the reality on ground, where do we go? Because if I want to send something from Lagos to Abuja, everyone is familiar with God is good. They know what to do. They go. If you don't want to pay God is good, you go to your nearby park, you pay them there. They take it to you. They take it to wherever you're going. You write your person's phone number and all those things, even down to doorstep delivery these days. But if it's towards Rwanda, Kigali, or Kigali, Rwanda, right? I have no clue what to do. Same thing with Santon. Same thing with even down to Mauritania, and even down to all these other relatively less popular African states. Yes. So that's my first question. So my second, okay, do I stop for you to take the first question? Do I keep on my questions?
Okay. Let me quickly put an answer to the first two questions if I'm right.
Okay.
All right. You mentioned something about the Belt and Road Initiative in China. Well, it's a global strategy implemented by China, and I think to have this similar, if I'm right, if that is the way you asked your question. So if you want to ensure that we have a similar initiative operative in Africa, I would say it might not be possible, because like I've mentioned different factors that will mitigate the possibilities of these initiatives, and one is this bureaucratic process. And what most African countries, or let me just say, what we do in Africa is to just prepare a paper. We are very good with paper presentations. I'm very sure about that. We are very good with paper presentations, but the adoption or the implementation of those things are the problem. So we are very good with having different initiatives for the paper, signing different MOUs, signing different bilateral agreements, but we don't see to the effective implementation of those things. So we going about the Belt and Road Initiative operative in China, I think it's about connecting 150 countries or region thereabout an international market. If I'm very sure, if this initiative is to be extended to Nigeria or to the African the African market, there will be a fallout. There will be a fallout, because one thing that has affected Africa is that we don't have a united voice. Yes, we call ourselves African Union, but we don't have a united voice, and you will see it prevalent in different circumstances. Look at the recent democratic overthrow in our neighboring African country. The African Union has made different press statements, issued different press statements, addressed the situation, and nothing has changed ever since. They still have a military government in power. So what then can we term as the sole benefit of the African Union? What then can we refer to as the African voice? So we have the African 2063 agenda. and we are still in 2025. And with the look of things, if care is not taken, we might not even achieve those targets come 2063, if I'm right. So if this initiative is to be extended to Africa, the African market, there will be different fallout, and it will fall short of different areas. I hope I've answered that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So moving ahead to the logistical problems that we have in the African market. Yes, you are right. Within Nigeria, if you want to send a product to different part of Nigeria, you can do that through any logistic or delivery agency, or possibly go to the park, as you have said, to the box park. But in Africa, within Africa, if you are here, you want to send a product to Kigali, or you want to hire a service in Kigali before that person will come down to Nigeria. Different challenges, different. So it's more or less this whole AfCFTA started in 2021. So whatever we are still having is just a structure, a framework. So we must come together to ensure that it's implemented. And one thing to ensure that if you really want to solve this logistic problem that we have within for the African market, there must be funding. I'm very much aware about if you want to ship an item from China to Nigeria, you either go by air shipping or sea shipping that will take some months. Can you see that is very smooth? Even that is an international market, right? But the African market has not been possible. It has not been possible due to several factors. These are several factors. If you go to the Ministry of Aviation, if you go to the Ministry of Interior, if you want to come up with an initiative to address this, you will be discouraged. Okay, if I want to work with, let's take for instance, if I want to work with Earpiece, or I want to work with ValueJet, I'm not marketing any any flight here, but I'm just giving an example. These are the common examples that we have. Now, if you want to partner with them, okay, you have a startup idea, okay, you want to partner with this airline, okay, most times when you're having flights from Nigeria to Kigali, or have some product I want to deliver to Kigali, what they will tell you is that you have to register with social agency, you have to take this, you have to get this permit, you have to get these licenses, and at the end of the day, you are even discouraged to move ahead. So everything still goes down to policy discussions. So we must participate and engage in meaningful policy discussions and actionable plans. So we must come up with actionable plans. So if you have that kind of initiatives now, you can build a team, network your way to those that matters, that will ensure it seamlessly proceeds or projects to the world. That is why networking is very important. So that's why platforms like this, like the independent the Ikoyaka that I sent earlier, these are why platforms like this are available to raise your opinion, to raise an awareness, to call for help, to call for assistance. So that is the need for it. That's why we must rise up together. It's possible. You said it's more of something of the paper. Yes, something of the paper can become something meaningful and achievable in years to come. It is not a matter of today, it's a matter of tomorrow. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much. So, my next question is, in terms of currency, well, I understand what you said. I heard you out. Thank you. In terms of currency, some of these African currencies are relatively scarce, and they're not particularly in high demand in Nigeria, and African currency transactions can be facilitated through things like OPay, for instance, and then leverages some of our Nigerian banks that have an African expansion on their horizon. So some of them actually have branches in some of these states. But the issue with these things is that, especially in the reality to us, who have limited capital, us being us, you who Sorry, pardon me, a call came through. Who more or less, the last thing I said was us that have SM. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I'm with you.
Hello. Okay, so I said us that have. Okay, so to have this. Okay, so to have access to this currency, to this platform, so even register with some of this financial technology in. They have strict requirements that are akin towards traditional banking. They have particular thresholds for deposits and all these things, and it doesn't help that Nigeria is on the financial FATF grey list and all these things. So how can we navigate that that intra-African. And we Okay, so I said, how can we navigate the payments in terms of the currency, across Africa? Because I remember a personal experience when I was in a different African state and I wanted to get to the bank to pick up the currency, but my fastest and efficient was just buying from the bureau de change guys on the road. As businesses, how can we get this currency? How can we trade across? Do we accept dollars like everyone does? And then do the evaluation in naira, or do we accept these other currencies? And if we do we end up having multiple accounts across all the African states? Surely there's something that can be done. Is there no initiative that can help us with that, please?
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Oluwadamilola. I could remember sometimes last year I was in a particular forum and we were discussing about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and I made my submission, and people were so amazed with my submission, and they were like, I'm sounding somehow. But that is the reality. I told them at that forum that what we need for the effective implementation or to ensure a seamless cross-border transactions and activity is a single African currency. A single African currency. We need a unified currency in Africa. Because looking at the currencies of different African states, some of them has lesser value. And if we are to adopt the global currency, the dollars, the pounds, trust me, then that is no form of independence on African states. If African states has been clamoring for their independence, for their sovereignty, that they don't want to have anything to do with the global market, we want to stand alone. Then you want to stand alone and you're using the global, the Western currencies. It's never going to be possible. So I think there was this we had one of those leaders in Africa then. I think Muhammad Gaddafi. He advocated for an African currency. That was one of his agitations at the African Union level. Whenever he's in a meeting with any African state leader, he would advocate for for the unified African currency. And he has his observations, and I think I align with his thoughts too. That is the basic, because that is what can guarantee a seamless transaction. Imagine I have something to do across 13 African countries. Are you telling me I have to pass through the whole process, the whole gamut, like the currency that I'm bringing in, it has to be of lesser value? Then my stay, which ought to have been 3 months, has been reduced to 3 months based on the fact that the currency has dilapidated, has depreciated in value. It shouldn't be. So once we have a unified currency in Africa, then once I'm leaving my domain, I'm rest assured that whatever I'm doing in another country is similar to what is obtainable in my own country. And we're in the era of tech evolution. African states must come together, have a policy discussion, come up with an idea. Okay, this is an application. I'm just giving my own perspective to it. This is an application that can facilitate seamless transactions within the 55 African countries that have consented to the AfCFTA. So with this application, you can move in your currency, you can exchange your currency to the African currency, things like that. So when we have this in operation, there are so many. They can partner with Quick Teller. We have the Paralex Bank. I'm not advertising any. I'm just citing an example, relevant examples. We have OP operative in Nigeria. The Nigerian government can push the whole idea of OP to other African states. Let's partner with this fintech. Let's partner with them. Let's work things out. These are things that we can use to sell ourselves outside there. These are things that we can use to promote and boost our economic activities within Africa. So if we are clamoring for a unified African market and we are dependent on the Western currency, then we are still at the level 0 that we were initially. I hope you understand. So what I would just suggest together, this we are all in it together. I would just suggest that we come up with the idea of we support the idea of the unified African currency. And I think someone asked me this similar question when I attended when I honored the first invitation last year. I think Mr. Dennis can attest to that. So when we have a unified African currency, when it is unified, Ghanaian can see that this is an African currency, Nigerians can see this is an African currency, and Ivorian can see that this is an African currency. Are we together? So these are things that we need. We need initiatives, we need policy discussions to push these things forward. So whatever we are discussing tonight revolves around policy discussions and effective implementation and monitoring. That's why you will see an abandoned project all over the part of Africa. You will see abandoned project here and there because we fail to monitor. So the first thing is we coming together, having a policy discussion that matters. 2, implementing those issues that have been raised in that policy discussion. Thirdly, is to monitor so we can enjoy the output of those policy discussions. But if we fail to do either or any of those 3, then we are still at the 0 point that we were initially. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My final question is, regards to, visibility within these states. Yes, visibility and, not just visibility, because it's trade ultimately. I think a core part of trade is visibility. People need to know that this trade is ongoing and these things happen so that they can then in turn, patronize and ultimately, cash flow and all these things. Do you know any government initiatives that are helpful? Because everyone knows about the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, and all these things. But amongst all these African states, I imagine they have something similar of the sort. But can you name any events or programs or initiatives or even tariff advantages that exist that we can leverage as people who are, to run small and medium enterprises, to promoting intra-African trade and leveraging the African free trade continent? So, what's it called? The AfCFTA agreement. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that beautiful question, and it's very thoughtful of you, sir. I would say that beyond punctuality being the soul of business, I would also say visibility is the soul of the business too, because a business that is visible will have so much to receive at the end of the day. So visibility is very key to any trade or businesses you are working with or working on. So like I said, we have the Nigeria Export Promotion Commission and the likes. I'm not so sure. I don't have at the moment. I don't have relevant examples of what tariff advantage or a similar sort across different African countries. But I can still say much about Uganda because I have a very good friend in Uganda who is also part of this whole policy engagement on AfCFTA. But I think when you are bringing in a new business to Uganda, there are some sort of tariffs that you are going to enjoy as a new investor in Uganda. So I think if you want to incorporate your company, I think there is a slash on the payment price that you're going to pay to the government. and I think you will be given a space. And when it's time for, I think this sort of when it's time for all this trade fair, you will be given access to, so that there will be a discount for you to also participate in the trade fair. So these are some of the examples of opportunities available in Uganda. And going forward, I will still make my research, and I also share few points with my colleagues across different parts of Africa, so we can come up with possibly a whole document, like a charter on available opportunities, on visibility for businesses and initiatives under the AfCFTA. Like I said, it is an ongoing effort, and I encourage you to be part of this initiative, to support us. Like most of the time, I work on initiatives when at the advisory council level. We have different meetings, so we might be tasked with a particular assignment. So these are things that we can do together. These are things that we can deliberate upon, and we are equally building ourselves. We are equally building ourselves and making a name for ourselves and for Nigeria and for the advancement of the African state. So visibility is very key, is the soul of business, like I would want to say, and I would say also. And at the same time, I think there's a question. Okay, I will attend to that. So I want to encourage everyone to please, it's an ongoing effort. Don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. We can do this. We can achieve this together. Thank you so much. So this question, how does the AfCFTA address issues related to tariffs, non-tariff barriers, and trade facilitation? To be very honest with you, AfCFTA addressed every issue. As of now, it has addressed every issue. And any issue that is yet to be addressed now will be addressed in subsequent engagement at the African Continental meeting, the African Union meeting. In Nigeria, we have the action committee on AfCFTA, headed by Barrister Olusegun Awolowo. Is the executive secretary of the National Action Committee on AfCFTA. And for this now, we have different tariffs, non-tariff barriers, and trade facilitation measures under the AfCFTA. It has been addressed already. But the issue that we are still having is the implementation. Okay, there are so many tariffs. The AfCFTA have provided that, okay, if you are a business into the marketing of products related to leather, I hope you can hear me. If you are a business, if you are into business of marketing or products related to leather, okay, you'll be granted so tariff in this part of Africa. There has been a measure available for that. There has been a concept created for that. However, there is an implementational problem. That even when you get to that country, they will tell you it's never going to be possible. Though it has been, there is this AfCFTA ratification act across different African countries, but we are still being faced with the implementation problem. So we have all these tariffs, non-tariff barriers, and trade facilitation system and structures available under the AfCFTA. But the issue we're having is the implementation. The AfCFTA is a working instrument. It's a working instrument. I would say it's a working instrument, but it's yet to be an implementing instrument. I would end that way.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oluwatosin, for helping out answer all those questions. Really do appreciate your input and everything that you've had to share in today's class. We are truly grateful. We sincerely apologize on behalf of Mr. Walmart Jones not being able to join us for today's session. But thanks to Mr. Oluwatosin for helping us generally handle the session and also giving us very insightful takes on the topic for today. So without further ado, I think we'll be drawing a curtain on today's discussion. I'm sure you've been able to, for the mentees, you'll be able to pick up a thing or two about the AfCFTA, what it is like, the issues they are trying to address and how we or you can get on board. So in any way you can, to get involved with this discussion, to get involved, in trying to boost trade around or across Africa, please let's get on board and let's drive this movement and let's drive this cause. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Oluwatosin. For the mentees, do not forget to share what you've learned on your different social media platforms. So also do not forget to fill in the attendance. We'll be having 2 sessions tomorrow, one in the morning and the other in the evening. Please try as much as possible to be in those sessions. We promise that they are going to be insightful and very, very, very much life-changing. Thank you, everyone. Good night and enjoy the rest of your evening.